So the last thing I want to do with this video is make any humongous claims that may not be true, that I'm not able to back up. I don't want it to be this like incendiary thing. I don't want it to like start arguments, and I'm not trying to start anything. I am mostly just kind of, and I'm also not even really that well versed on like the Sony universe, you know, like I watch what's going on. I wouldn't say from a distance, but you know, I'm mostly on the Nintendo side. I'm not like huge in the Sony, the PlayStation ecosystem. So I just kind of want to give my perspective, my own personal perspective, as someone who doesn't play a lot of PlayStation games, but who's been kind of loosely following, you know, their various releases and the situation around Astro Bot. So I apologize ahead of time if anything I say is just like totally wrong. I mean, I know that I'm not the only person who's thought some of these thoughts. It's kind of a thing going around. Whatever. All that to just say, like, I'm not an expert here. It's just that it's hard to look at the just Astro Bot, the whole thing, the whole situation, and not see a little weirdness. There's kind of this feeling that Sony doesn't really care that much about it. And see, again, that's a really big claim. It's a super big claim. And, you know, Sony is a company comprised of many people. And it goes without saying, the developer, the Astro Bot team, they clearly care an awful lot. Like, obviously, the game is looking incredible. Like, absolutely phenomenal. It looks, I mean, you know, it's basically a Mario-like. You know, there are a lot of 3D platformers, but this one just, I mean, maybe it's not even that mechanically it's that much like Mario. I think it's just that it's a 3D platformer with a level of polish and charm that is rare, that you generally mainly see from Nintendo in like mainline Mario games. Just not a lot of people are making platformers like this that are just so smooth, so punchy, so polished, that just look like they just feel so good to just get your hands on, you know? When you see it, you go, wow, that looks like a Mario game. But that's not to say that it's like a ripoff. That's only a compliment. That's only a good thing. That's saying this looks like it achieves a level of quality that is almost unheard of in this industry. It's very, very good. And like the fact that they like went back and added some content from this into Astro's Playroom, that's really, really cool. Like, yeah, the team themselves, they're doing everything right, and the game looks incredible. I absolutely can't wait to play it. It's just that, I mean, you know, Sony revealed it in the State of Play in May, and you know, you gotta hand it to them. They closed out the show with it. So that's something right there. They didn't just, you know, just throw it on Twitter. They didn't throw it in the middle somewhere there. So that it definitely is something. It's just that since then, they haven't really done much of anything to market the game. I kind of thought they would give us more trailers. It's kind of generally what you do leading up to the launch of a game. And they finally gave us another trailer. It's basically the launch trailer. I mean, maybe a pre-launch trailer, but if it comes out like a week before the game releases, then it's basically a launch trailer. So we didn't get anything about the game, and I don't know. Again, I could be right. I've looked. I've talked to people. They're all yeah. It hasn't gotten any trailers since then. It just got one before launch, and that's it. And I mean, it almost goes without saying. You know, Concord and Astro Bot were both revealed in that State of Play, and both are releasing quite close to each other, and Concord is going to shut down its servers the day that Astro Bot comes out, right? So, like, it's about priorities, and it seems that Sony has put all of the priority on Concord, which is funny because they haven't even really done a very good job of marketing that either. But it's clear that out of all the games that were revealed in that presentation, Astro Bot was pretty far down the list of priorities, or at the very least, Concord was above it. Pretty cleanly above it, because, I mean, yeah, it's the whole thing. The live service, the trend chasing, and all that. You want to, you know, you You throw all your money at these big, giant multiplayer games, these live service games, because you know that if they work, then you get tons and tons and tons of money. Smaller, single-player games like Astro Bot with maybe even a little bit less appeal to Sony's audience. You know, even the ones who are into single-player games, the prestige AAA single-player games, they might prefer slightly more mature fare, God of War, Last of Us, that kind of thing. Historically, the more like colorful, family-friendly IPs, you know, Ratchet and Clank, that kind of thing, they don't sell as well. And it's a shame. It really is a shame that, you know, that puts these games kind of in like the middle tier. They don't sell quite as well, but their budgets are also probably not quite as high, so that's probably okay. And you know, these big companies are getting less and less willing to make projects like that, because a game like that is going to make as much money as it sells. Like that's really it. Whereas a live service game, that one game can make money over time. It can just keep funneling in money if it works. And I just think it's so funny that the execs at Sony probably do not care very much about Astro Bot at all. They were hedging all their bets with Concord. That was much more important to them, even though at this time, I mean, it's technically possible Concord could come back next year or something and be free to play, and maybe they'll change it. Maybe it'll make a bunch of money back. I don't know. But at least right now, it's looking like $100 million flop. That will make back no money. It's $100 million just toast, just gone. Whereas Astro Bot, there's no way that it cost anywhere close to that amount to make. And so it's, you know, it's not going to sell 1 trillion copies or anything, but like, it's going to make infinitely more money. I mean, literally speaking, I suppose, if Concord was nothing but a massive loss, if Astro Bot makes any money whatsoever, then it is infinitely more successful than Concord was. This little mid-budget, family-friendly single-player game. And, you know, trying not to spin it off into a whole conversation, Nintendo understands, yeah, you know, those like little middle-sized successes, if you just keep doing those, if you have like a bunch of them and you just keep funding them, those all add up into big successes. But yeah, that goes without saying, doesn't it? Back to the point, Sony didn't give us another trailer for Astro Bot or any real marketing until, except for, yeah, the whole Astro's Playroom thing. It's pretty good, I guess. I mean, everybody who owns a PS5 have that. It's kind of like built in. So I guess that's kind of a thing. But they waited a really long time to give us another trailer. And then I think what got me to make this video was Sony's presence at Pax West. We just had Pax West, and they had a demo for Astro Bot. Okay, cool. Bring it to Pax West. That's a kind of a cool way to market your game. I actually still don't like understand how letting a few thousand people get their hands on your game makes much of a difference when you need to sell like millions and millions of copies for it to actually make money. I don't really know how that works, but whatever, put that aside for now. It was there. Okay, but the way they handled it was a little bit weird, because everybody I knew who was there was excited to play Astro Bot. I wanted to play Astro Bot. Everyone did. We all did. We're all excited about Astro Bot. But Sony, despite bringing Astro Bot there, didn't really feel like it wanted us to play Astro Bot. They had a booth. It was not on the main show floor. It was in like a little lobby area, which I'm having a hard time telling if that is better or worse. Is it better because a lot more people will walk by it, or is it worse because it's like kind of separate? The real problem was they had a small handful of kiosks, like a handful. And so that line was always really long. I never played the game because I didn't want to wait in that long line. And sure, plenty of these games had long lines. Absolutely. You know, Monster Hunter, I couldn't play Monster Hunter, so I didn't want to wait in line for 8 hours. But like, The problem is like the number of kiosks. They only had a few for Astro Bot, even though everybody wanted to play it. And that line was always super long. And, you know, in their defense, I probably could have gotten through the line. I probably could have. The line probably did move decently fast compared to other games. But see, that's actually another part of the problem. With plenty of game demos, you get to play, I don't know, for a good while, or until they tell you to stop, or like until you kind of just get this sense, okay, I should probably put the controller down and let them, you know, there's someone standing behind me, I should probably let them play. And then other ones, you know, they have to put a pretty hard time limit on when you have to stop. You know, I went to the Nintendo booth and played Zelda and Mario Party, and you know, we got like, I don't know the exact number, felt like a good 15 minutes or so. Maybe even a little more per game. That's per game. We got to do each one. Astro Bot, from what I hear, again, I wasn't in the line myself, from what my friends were telling me, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And it felt even more weird because it wasn't even baked into the demo. They literally had egg timers. I'm not joking. I saw them myself. They had little like egg timers you buy from the grocery store, set for 2 minutes. 2 minutes is nothing. 2 minutes is barely enough time to learn the controls of a game. 2 minutes. That's all you get. And yeah, maybe it's because they only had a few kiosks and the line was so long, but like, it's just not enough time to play. It's not enough time to get it. What do they expect you to go through the line 5 times to get a solid 10 minutes with Astro Bot, even though it probably resets the demo every time that timer goes off? It's just like, I don't know, that right there, it's kind of it just kind of felt a little bit unprofessional for one, just having like the whole like egg timer thing. And you know, maybe they were a little bit lax about it. Maybe they realized how silly it was. There were times when I would walk by and someone would be playing and the egg timer would just be blasting at them and they're just like ignoring it because the person hasn't come over yet to like make them stop. It was just, it was just silly. The whole thing was just silly. And oh yeah, I got just a little tiny bit of bad footage with my phone. The whole entire room is not the line, but you can kind of see the line back there. It's a really nice long line and just these couple of kiosks. And maybe I'm looking too far into the whole thing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was fine. The 2 minute limit was really silly, but it all just kind of like adds together with the fact that Sony waited so long to market the game further and give us another trailer. It just kind of gives this vibe that they don't really care that much about it. You know what I mean? It just kind of gives this feeling that they're just kind of like, we did this because we knew it would be like a goodwill thing, you know, for the same reason we do Ratchet and Clank still, because we know it'll make a bunch of people happy and it'll make us look good. But at the end of the day, Concord is what we really wanted to succeed. That's what we're really looking for. Astro Bot, it's small potatoes for us, and I don't know. And again, like I don't know. I don't want to start anything. Maybe I'm completely off base here. I just kind of wanted to talk about how weird that felt. How weird it felt that everybody there wanted to play Astro Bot, and there was just such a small presence, and it was so difficult to play. 2 minutes. I can't. 2 minutes on an egg timer. It's absurd. Like, obviously they want the game to succeed. Obviously they do. They want to make money. They're not like wishing it wouldn't make money. I get that. It's just the weird apathy. It feels like they're acting like they don't care if it succeeds. You know, they're really doing like the bare minimum. I guess it's not the bare minimum. I guess we're lucky that it was there at all. You know, it did have a presence at PAX West. We were able to play it technically, but like that line was always long. Like that, like that line was always long. There were always people trying to play that game. And if anybody did just decide to go through the line multiple times to try to get a better feel for the game, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments. Well, the game comes out in just a couple of days. I really can't wait to play it. It looks really phenomenal. I'll try to do a review, or at the very least like a quick impressions video or something. I don't really know, but I'm super excited, and I can only hope that this game does well. Especially because, like, just to be a little petty, the better this game does, the more it just kind of, let's just say, the more it will highlight this whole situation and kind of highlight Sony's kind of backwards priorities. You know, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not expecting a massive sales success or anything, but I'm certainly hoping for one. I think the team behind Astro Bot would be Team Asobi. They deserve the world. They absolutely do. They deserve a really great success because they've done something really awesome here. And if it's true that they're not getting enough love from Sony, then that needs to be rectified.